Hello, and welcome to Maidens of the Spear, where we talk Wheel of Time and we have a really good time. I'm Mary Lou. This is Sarah, and today we are talking about what are we talking
We're talking about episode 3 of the Wheel of Time TV show.
about? The Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime. What's it
Episode,
called?
Episode 3 is called A Place of Safety.
Oh, that's nice. I bet nothing interesting happens because it
Nothing
sounds
bad
nice,
happens.
nice and safe and easy, right?
Yeah, no, that's actually it. We have nothing else to say about this episode. This has been Maidens of the Spear. Just kidding.
Just kidding.
Just
The
a
first
silly
thing
little
that
joke.
happens is that we see Nynaeve's unconscious body being dragged by a Trolloc to feed to another Trolloc. I don't know.
Why did
Not
this
really
Trolloc
sure.
grab Nynaeve and drag her very far into the woods? Because
Not really sure. My first instinct was like, he's not hungry now. He's saving it for later. He found an especially delicious snack, and so he snatched her up by the braid. He said, how convenient. It's got a carrying handle. And snatched her up and was like, I'm going to go put this in the fridge. And he's taking it back to the Trolloc cook pot to make a delicious
He's not hungry at all.
stew. Because he's not hungry yet, but he will be. But then he sees his dying friend.
Of course.
And instantly starts to feast upon his intestines.
Right, as you do.
So.
Friend testines, as they call
his friend intestines.
Very strange. Other thing that's strange about this scene, we know from episode 1, we watch the women's circle go on this like long hike through the mountains to get to the spring, right? That's a far trek. This Trolloc pulled Nynaeve a long way away from Ibben's Field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a question we have that we don't have an answer for and probably never will. But we're going to ask it. But then anyway, we see this badass scene that unfortunately we've already seen pretty much.
There is a theory in the chat, Mary Lou, that
a theory in the chat
before, that the Trollocs had orders to grab the Emond's Field 5 and not kill them. Except none of the others were grabbed. And they definitely tried to kill Perrin. So I don't know. I had that thought as well. But it doesn't seem... If that's the answer they try to give, I'll be like, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah. And then why didn't that Trolloc grab Nynaeve and Egwene?
Yeah, she was right there.
Right. It
very
wouldn't
confusing.
Wouldn't have been too tough.
I think the actual answer is they wanted
drama.
Have the moment later when Nynaeve, shows up with a knife at Lan's throat, and so they had to get her out of the way. So Trolloc drags her out. They go into a cave. They do a whole fight about it. And
it's a great fight.
It's a fun fight. Oh, Nynaeve's a fucking badass. Zoe, okay, episode 3, Zoe is so good.
She's so good in this episode.
She's my favorite part of the entire show.
Favorite performance. Favorite performance of all. And Sarah pointed this out. This moment, Sarah. This one.
Yeah, Nynaeve, like the top of Nynaeve's braids emerging from the water like a little shark dorsal fin.
Like a shark fin?
She's fucking hunting this Trolloc.
It's so good.
And she grabs the knife, she stabs the Trolloc. The scene is powerful, it's incredible. It's enough to make me forgive the fact that they drag Nynaeve through the woods for no reason.
But not enough to forgive the fact that...
Until she stabs the Trolloc, they go underwater, and then the blood bubbles up in the shape of a dragon's fang. And why? So we saw this scene in the trailer, and when we saw it, Mary Lou and I were like, we hope that's something they did for the trailer?
Just for the trailer, not for the show, but it's not. And so what's disappointing to me is that I think both times we've seen the dragon's fang, in the sheep's carcasses in episode 1, then the blood in the sacred pool in episode 2, both look pretty badass. They look pretty cool. The blood in the pool, I think, looks better.
The blood in the pool...
It looks cheesy
to me. Yeah,
it looks a little cheesy. It looks better than I thought it did on the movie screen on my TV. It looked better, But both times there's like no good reason for it. There's
no
like
good reason.
There's no plot
Yeah.
reason why this happened. Why would the Trollocs have left these sheep in a dragon's fang? Why would the blood have bubbled up in the shape of a dragon's fang? Like, it's just for style, both of them. And so that makes me a little like...
It pushes you out of the narrative because, like the dragon's fang, as we discussed when we talked about this in the trailer, but the dragon's fang is a human symbol, you know, like it's not a part of the reality, like the ontological basis of anything. It makes no sense that Trolloc blood would bubble up in the form of a dragon's fang. It's not like Shaitan is sitting back there behind the board like, oh, Trolloc was just stabbed. Let me bubble up his blood like a dragon's fang. Silly and unnecessary and unsubtle, which is, again, kind of the running theme. But
not super subtle. So everything that's the first scene. But then the second scene... I think makes up for it because that's Nynaeve talking to Lan and she's got a knife to his throat and he's like, you need to help Moiraine. And she's like, you think I'm going to help her? And he's like, why don't you put the knife down? And he goes, we both know that you're not going to kill me. And she tries to fucking kill him.
She tries to shake that bitch right in the neck.
He says, I know you're not going to kill me. And she says, bitch, you thought? I will fucking kill you.
And then he's like, he says, you actually tried to kill me.
And that probably he got a little bit of a boner. Do you think he got a little bit of a boner on that?
Oh, look, the thing is, if you were like me, a young teenager, unaware of the ways of love, and you first saw Lan and Nynaeve's relationship pop up at the end of the Eye of the World, you were like, the fuck? And then on rereads, when you're like looking for it, you're like, where is it? It's kind of there.
Kind of.
But in the show, it's there, baby.
Oh, it's there, honey. Their chemistry is crackling.
Almost as good as the chemistry between Daniel Henney and Rosamund Pike.
So true.
It's great.
So true.
I love that scene, and then he just like knocks her out, which you know, love a man who knocks me the heck out with the knife I tried to kill him with. He could knock
me out with the knife I tried to kill him with anytime, any day, any night.
So that happens. Then later in the little Lan Nynaeve arc, Nynaeve wakes up tied to a tree, and Zoe gives such a good fucking look. I wish I could show the goddamn clip.
It is so good.
Zoe Robbins, because I know you're watching this, just kudos on the perfection of that facial expression. That was so Nynaeve. When I saw that clip, I laughed out loud because I'm like, that is Nynaeve, baby.
So Nynaeve. She really captures Nynaeve for me. And also, honestly, she improves upon Nynaeve for me because I find her innately likable, while early books Nynaeve can be really grating and...
Yeah, I cannot but love Nynaeve in the book.
I mean, I do too, but
that's on rereads. And the first time through, it's hard to like her.
It's hard to like her at first because you're like, who? What? Yeah. But this Nynaeve, I mean, instantly I'm like, yes,
she's
anything
so
you do, I will. Hello, hi. Fat Boy's back. He's going to start screaming at me until I give him a hug.
And then Lan is like, are you ready to help her? And she's like, oh, like, she has to tell me everything she knows. Like, is that a demand? She's like, it's not a demand. It's a threat.
I am the threat,
while tied to a tree.
Consider me, that's the threat, Aja. Aja. I'm in the threat, Aja. That line was so funny to me. That this is like maybe the second sentence they've ever spoken to her, and she's like, I am telling you with my words and actions that I will kill your ass. I will kill your ass. And I'm not joking. Love that about her. But I think my favorite interaction comes in their next scene when she agrees to try and heal Moiraine and she's out hunting for, magical barks and flowers and such. And she says, ask, I know you want to. And, Lan asks, how did you track me? Right? How did you track me? And she goes, I said that you could ask, not that I'd answer. Bitch, if you No, shut the fuck up, you fucking bitch. Like, are you kidding me? Talk about Aes Sedai. The truth that you hear is not, not always the truth that you think you heard. What the fuck? That was so funny. I died.
Yeah,
What
she's
a
so
fucking
good.
bitch.
And
She
they
is
did a
capital B bad. She is bad bitch energy. Love her.
Yeah, and the relationship between Nynaeve and Lan, it feels real. Like
It feels real.
It feels real. It feels deserved. Like they
Feels
don't have a ton
honest.
of time together, but it feels legitimate,
Crackling.
which is
Love
fantastic. So, she pops a wound. I really didn't need to see it. It was gross.
It was gross.
She puts some poultices on. Lan rides off. He finds a very dramatic little. It's kind of the equivalent. When like Batman posts up on top of a skyscraper,
and is
and
like
stares out over Gotham. So Lan does that. He finds a cool little mountain arch. Comes back. They have to go. There is a moment where Moiraine is first coming to, where she calls for Swan. It's very cute. And he gets a little smile, and then they ride, and we're just doing like the plot lines. The end of their story, they find the Aes Sedai camp, and then Leandrin fucking sucks, and that's where that ends. But they found Logain. Okay.
But they find Logain. And there's clearly some tension between Moiraine and Leandrin. We know why. We're going to see what the show says about that, but that is very interesting. But you didn't think we'd not talk about our other characters, did ya?
No, let's talk about. Well, let's talk about Perrin and Egwene first.
Great.
So they run through some fields. They start a fire. One of them starts a fire.
But who? Was it Perrin's flint or was it Egwene's channeling? It's ambiguous.
And I actually really liked Marcus Rutherford in that scene a lot.
Me too.
He's using the knife made by Layla to try to strike the flint, and he's like panicking and freaking out, and I could feel the panic. He did a really good job. But it does bring up just kind of the question that I think I'm going to be asking myself every time we see Perrin from now on. Like, every time I see Perrin now, I'm thinking, damn, that guy axed his wife.
That guy killed his fucking wife.
He's thinking about the fact that he killed his wife right now.
You know what he's probably...
His dead wife that he killed made.
You know what he's probably thinking about right now?
The wife that he done axed?
Yeah, the wife that he axed. Yeah, how he axed his wife in the tummy. And
like, I do understand the desire to give Perrin a little push, a little jumpstart on his why is he afraid of his own violent nature. But how?
This feels like instead of a little push, it's like a freaking 70 horsepower engine. Is 70 horsepower a lot?
It's like a 300 horsepower engine.
It's like a 300 horsepower, 4,000 horsepower engine.
It's just like, it could have been interesting if this were a television show about Perrin Aybara, maybe they could have done this well. They could have shown us all of the growth and developments that we know he goes through, that he needs to go through, while also handling the impact of the wife he axed in the stomach. This is an ensemble cast show that is just at the bare beginning of ensembling. We have met 7 characters out of 2,600. How are they going to have time to do justice to this emotional trauma they've caused this character?
Because he just axed his wife.
He axed his wife. Look, people spend years getting over spouses who die not because they axed them in the stomach and
held their bodies as they bled out in their arms.
Perrin, this is a 2-year story we're about to watch. At least in the books, it takes place over 2 years. How is Perrin going to get over axing his wife? How is he going to be thinking about anything other than axing his wife? Anyway, it's just, we're going to think about it every time now. We can move on. Wolves. We see some wolves.
Wolves are chasing Perrin and Egwene, and we get an overhead shot that makes it clear that, are they chasing Perrin and Egwene, or are they hurting Perrin and Egwene. And that's a really cool thing that they note when all of a sudden they start going in the right directions and the wolves stop. But then Egwene has to say it out loud.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the wolves led us here. Yeah, I got that.
We understood.
Or like, if you didn't think I get that, show me better.
Yeah.
Don't just tell me that. Because I loved that moment up until that point. I was like, oh, how cool. Oh, the wolves are like herding them in the right direction. That's so interesting, right? They're like chasing them and being like, ooh, I'm going to get you. And then they don't. And then then Egwene has to literally say the exact words. Guys, trust us.
Trust
we'll
us,
get
please,
it.
just a little
Or trust yourself to tell the story better.
Yeah, exactly.
Or show the story better. I don't know. That line, I was like, guys, really?
And it's like, if that were the only time it happened, okay. It's just recurring that they don't trust us enough. And please trust us.
Please trust us. It's only episode 3, and so maybe they're just trying to hold our hands until later. And but I'm telling them I'm ready to let go.
To be fair,
I'm ready to let go of their hands.
To play Shaitan's advocate, we know the wolves are good guys. So
That's
when we see Perrin and Egwene being chased by wolves, we know they're not actually being hunted down.
That's such a great point.
But again, I think that could have been shown better. We already had that weird wolf licking Perrin's bleeding leg.
So we already know that the wolves. We already know the wolves aren't.
Yeah.
Bad. Totally.
We know the wolves aren't going to kill Perrin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, they do that. They run around. They run around some more, and then they find the Tuathon, and it's fine.
Wait, hold on, Sarah, your hair.
My hair is doing wild thing.
Pull it out. There we go. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, that was distracting to you. All right.
It was. You were like, yeah, it's cool. But then one of my favorite moments is when they get cornered again, and it's not wolves this time. Who is it? It's our traveling people, the Tuatha'an.
And I expressed some concern that they wouldn't be colorful enough based on one of the leaked photos we saw. And they are pretty colorful. Honestly,
fierce
I could have done with more. There is one guy walking around, and one of his stripes is like a very hot pink, which obviously we're into.
And there's a girl with a bright pink like shirt and sleeves. And it's like Maidens of the Spear hot
Maidens pink. I wish some of the other colors had been that level. Like
there was some like lime green.
There's some limes. Yeah. They seem fun.
The wagons are very colorful. Some of the clothes are less colorful, but Aram and what's the guy's name? His dad, Aram's dad, or Aram's grandfather.
If you hadn't just asked me, I would have known.
Rayan.
Okay.
Rayan and Aram, they're both wearing like these like tan ponchos, which feels like an odd choice being that they are the only Tuatha'an, 2 of the only 3 Tuatha'an that speak, that they're wearing these like giant tan ponchos. So that's weird. But Isla is wearing a ton of colors. And here's an interesting change that we noticed that I like, that works with the world as a whole. Rayan is not the seeker of the Tuatha'an. That pretty clearly now is Isla, his wife. So we're seeing that not just Eamon's Field, not just the Aes Sedai. It seems like every single culture is matriarchal in the show, which I find interesting and makes sense to me, being that there is so much distrust of men fundamentally for the past 3,000 years as people who could potentially go insane and break the world. So I really liked that change. I thought that was super cool. I think the visual signifiers of the Tuatha'an, like their ponchos, their stripes, their hand-woven blankets, and their locks. Everybody has locked hair. They're of all different skin colors and all different, hair textures, but they all have locked hair with beads and threads and cloth. And I think it's really beautiful, really clear signifiers of a strong, independent, insular, nomadic culture. Loved it.
Yeah.
And they've got the puppy dogs.
They do have the puppy dogs. My only nitpick on the Tuathon, why are they pronouncing it Isla instead of Ela? It's Ela.
Oh, I pronounced it Isla.
In the audiobooks, it's Ela, so that's how I hear it.
Aha.
I mean, look, the audiobooks pronounce a lot of things a lot of different ways.
You also say wote.
Wote is correct.
What?
Wote is right. I refuse to back down.
Okay, you say wote and I say GIF. So we both can't be perfect.
GIF
right. That's right. Okay, so then we are correct.
Yeah, we are correct on that. That's canonically true. I did like the little shot that the Tuathon were eating lentils because they're vegetarians.
Yes. But to be honest, those lentils looked highly spiced and delicious.
They looked fantastic. Just like a classic doll is what it looked like. And I was very happy none of them were like, this is lentils because we're vegetarians.
Thank you. Yeah.
We are getting some pushback in the chat that we're being too hard on the lack of subtlety because to non-readers, Marisu has said her non-reader friend needed the hand-holding. And that's fair.
I love that. That's what I want to know that. I want to know
that.
Because it's important to me that non-readers like this show, right? Like, I want that. I don't want this to just be a show for me.
That's why we're done doing our review series with our friend Vic Michaelis, who
we call
hasn't read the books. So we'll do that tomorrow. But I look forward to hearing all of her takes, and maybe they'll be saying not unsubtle enough. But that's basically where their story ends. And then we get the third arc of the episode.
My favorite.
Rand and Matt in Breen Spring, the made-up town of Breen Spring. Why couldn't it have been one of the towns that actually exist in the books? Breen Spring does technically exist in the books. It's like mentioned. But yeah, why couldn't it have been one of the towns they actually like stop in? I don't know.
Is the town called Four Kings?
The town is called
in the books. Sorry, in the books is the town called Four Kings. Because in the show,
Four Kings is the town.
Aha. In the show, the inn is called Four Kings.
So I don't know why the town couldn't have been called Four Kings.
I don't know. Maybe they wanted to make it clearer that it's like a mining town with that quarry and that river.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, Breen
But
Spring.
Anyway, Rand and Matt's banter as they climb the mountain. When Matt says, "Oh, you're funny now. That's a new wrinkle."
Yeah,
I laughed out loud. I thought that was so funny. I think Yosha is so charming and Barney is so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, loved their journey. They arrive in Breen Springs. It is it looks like a den of thieves and
villains and scummery or whatever.
Skullduggery.
Star Wars dreamers.
Okay, but I definitely know this one, so it's upsetting that I don't remember it. But a cantina of villainy, scum and villainy. Thank you.
Scum and villainy. There's a great Star Wars themed bar in Los Angeles called Scum and Villainy.
Yes.
So yeah, they arrive. We see the Aiel in the cage, which is pretty disturbing. I'm also like, what's that Aiel doing down there? Maybe he's searching for the Karakarn, but that's to come. They go to an inn where who done that be up there with that guitar though?
It do be our old friend Tom Marilyn.
And
he sings a song that is a song, and I actually liked the song. I really liked the song. It did sound like it would be on like Alt 98.7.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed that they seem to have written a new song for this. Like, there are so many songs that exist in the books that have their lyrics spelled out. And like, I get that the song could be serving as some exposition about Luz Theron, except that I think if I were a non-reader, I wouldn't get that's what it was about.
Oh, I did get that, but because I had watched previous to this episode the Amazon origins of the breaking of the world, and that makes it really clear it's all about Luz Theron and how he like went insane and then was allowed to come to. And so if I were a new viewer and I had watched that origins episode previously, I would understand what the song is about. But if I didn't, I wouldn't.
And I understood what the song is about because I've read the books and was able to piece together what it was about. But yeah, I don't think a new reader who's not watching those animated shorts would have any idea what it was about. In which case, I kind of wish they'd just done like The Wind That Shakes the Willows or one of these like songs that exists as a tribute, to the original. Robert Jordan wrote a bunch of songs, and I think it would have been nice if the first one we heard from a Gleeman were one of the ones that existed in the books.
I think that's a good point. I just know from like a network and screenwriting perspective, they're absolutely never going to include a moment that doesn't try to like inform the plot somehow. Sure. So I don't think we're ever going to hear Wind That Shakes the Willows, though I want to. My problem with the song was not a problem, a question mark. The actor that plays Tom is super cool. Is he a cool musician? I am interested. I want to listen to his stuff. He doesn't sound like a court bard to me.
No, he's got like a gravelly voice. Like he seemed like he belonged. Chris Stapleton. He belonged in that sketchy inn, basically.
Yeah.
I wasn't like blown away. I wasn't like, holy shit, this guy has pipes. He has a good voice, and it's a cool voice. He strummed some chords on a guitar. When it was first revealed, like, Tom's going to have a guitar and not a harp, part of the way we were pacified as a fan base is, well, he can actually play the guitar. And like, okay, let him play the guitar.
Let him play the guitar. They didn't let him play the guitar.
I could have done what he did, and I can't really play guitar.
And so, like, I don't know. Like, I think that's cool. Tom plays guitar. Great. I want to see him play some, like, badass classical guitar.
Yeah.
And that's not what happened. Instead, we got this, like, very smoky song that I think was a good song. I liked the song. I just didn't think it made sense coming from a former court bard.
It like, makes me wonder if they're just dropping that part of Tom. If Tom is going all in. Like, they're turning Tom from the bard to just like a rogue with a guitar.
Oh, now that is interesting to me. That could be possible. And if that's possible, then it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. Fat boy laid on my PlayStation and knocked off the controller, but don't worry, he's still very comfortable.
I kind of wanted him to come, because he comes and sits down at the table with Matt and Rand, and he's sung this song, and it's like not a court bard. And I wanted him to kind of sit there and say, they always ask for it in common. Or whatever.
But it's better in high chant.
It's better in high chant, but they always ask for it in common. Just, one of those classic Tom lines.
That said, I loved his conversation and the lesson he teaches to Matt and Rand. Yeah, this is just a different Tom. It's not the Tom I expected. I like this Tom, though.
I was thrown off by the song because it's just not the Tom I was expecting. That said, I really like the Tom we get.
I really like him.
Alexandre Guillaume is good. He seems like he's really charming, and he does seem like that kind of wise mentor figure.
Wise, but also sly. His scene with Matt. I'd like to talk. I know we're going out of order. I'd like to talk about his scene with Matt.
I
found
the
it
scenes with Matt
incredibly touching.
Yeah.
Incredibly well acted by both of them. Incredibly well written. We get some Easter eggs, right? Where Tom says they're aiel, they're honor bound, Gieto, right? There he shows the veil. You only have to be worried when they're veiled. This man was not. When he's burying him, he says, may you find water and shade. So like that tells us that Tom knows a lot. Right. So that part of Tom is still true. He knows a shit ton more than the average guy.
And he can recognize Matt as being from the Two Rivers by his accent and dress.
And his piss poor attitude or
whatever. It's like
shit ass attitude or something like that. Super funny. But the way he shows Matt grace
Yeah.
was really, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's really sort of gorgeous the way he says we all have tough times. Go ahead, rob this dead
Yeah, rob
body.
this dead body.
But the least you can do is help me bury him.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful moment that I think is really impactful for this new Matt that we get and shows me a lot about Tom very quickly. I loved that scene. Loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved Matt and Tom's interactions. I thought they were so good. They
Super
added
funny.
depth to Matt's character. They introduced Tom really well. It's a different take on Tom. It's not.
Yeah, it showed it's a different take on Tom, and we also have a different take on Matt. And I was kind of getting like a birds of a feather sort of vibe, maybe sort of like pseudo parental vibe. And in the books, Tom sees Rand, right? Rand reminds him of his nephew Owen, but I'm thinking that maybe we can get a connection between Tom and Matt, reminding him of his nephew Owen, because they seem to have a real bond that was exciting.
Yeah, and I'm just like in the part of the Dragon Reborn right now where Matt and Tom have just left Tar Valon together. So yeah, no, I think it's great. I think like that was Lan and Nynaeve, Matt and Tom, like the relationships that have started to develop in episode 3, I think are really strong and compelling.
Really strong. And it's what we read the books. That's what we love about the books, right? Is relationships between characters, not just the incredible plot, but the relationships between characters and their development. And we're getting that in spades in this episode. And I am here for it.
Yeah. And then we get Rand's little journey. So first, Rand and Matt are trying to stay at the inn. And Dana, the innkeeper, is like, well, you can work for it. Split some wood. We get some like sexy, Archie from Riverdale scenes of Yosha chopping wood.
And Matt not chopping wood, just being an explicit butthead.
Just being a little butthead because Dagger Matt is coming in hot, y'all.
Dagger Matt is coming in strong, coming in fast.
That's the only thing that stood out to me about the Matt and Tom scenes was like clear. I was like, okay, so Dagger Matt is coming in hardcore, but then with Tom, we're not seeing that. And that's okay. Like Dagger Matt doesn't have to be 100% or nothing right off the bat. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Matt's interactions with Rand, Matt's being a little a fuck.
The way Rand says, like, sit down, he puts his hand on his shoulder and Barney like
yeah.
Like throws his hand off his shoulder. I was like, Dagger Matt.
Oh, and then Barney, Matt's, I'm calling the character Barney now. Matt's earlier moment with Rand where Rand is like, we have to go. And Matt's like, we got to go home. And Matt, like, I got to get to Egwene. And Matt's like, she wouldn't do the same for you or whatever.
My jaw dropped at that line. That was, Dagger Matt has some sick burns.
Dagger Matt not holding back.
Dagger Matt roasts Rand's dragon ass.
Yeah.
Because that line absolutely wrecks.
Yeah, that was good shit. That was good. Okay, so we get Rand. We get this lovely innkeeper, Dana. She's making some gross leftover stew out of everyone.
She's funny. She's sexy.
Yeah, she and Matt have a flirty little scene.
She plants the seed in Matt's brain. If I were you and I could get out, I would go somewhere, be somebody totally different, and nobody would know the dirt that I came from, the shit that I was born in. And you can see his wheels turning.
Great scene. I love that line.
Scene. And then we get the scene with Dana and Rand. Very flirty. She thinks that Matt and Rand are together. Hilarious. Love that.
We get Rand's line. If I were interested in men, I could do better.
I love that he's not like disgusted by that idea.
Yeah,
he's not like, no, ew. He's just like, oh no, that's not us. If I wanted to date men, I could do better. That's funny.
It's very funny.
I love.
They flirt. They go in for a little kissy. And then
he says no.
And then she's like, oh, was it the hair? I look too much like her. And you're like, what?
I know I shouldn't have braided it. And he says, I look too much like her. He says, like who? Like Egwene.
Like, you dark friend
You dark friend, bitch! This honestly surprised me. That honestly shocks me. Not a lot of twists. I say this all the time, but not a lot of twists shock me. That one did. I was like, bitch ass bitch, what the fuck?
The actress who played Dana played that scene perfectly. She's so good.
What a great episode for her too. What an actress. Oh, I'm just like so happy for her. She got this like meaty thing to sink her teeth into. So that reveal was terrific. And she's like, there's no way you can knock this door down. 3 men of your strength could knock this door down. It's ironwood.
And then, what do you know?
And Rand says,
lightning comes down from the sky and explodes the door open. That's what I was expecting.
That's what I was expecting too.
But no, Rand just, he goes Super Saiyan and beefs down the door. He has
the strength of 3 men or more than 3 men, and that door goes flying. There's a sound effect on it too that I heard. That instead of just a door, instead of just a door being knocked down, it's a little bit bassier. It's a little more like. Yeah. So we will know
as he's like charging. You can feel the magic in the air.
So we know that's him channeling, and new viewers, when they go back, will see that as him channeling. But I think that if I was a non-viewer, I might just be like, whoa, he's super strong.
That's a beefy boy right there.
Or it wasn't, or I might go like, whoa, that was weird, but enough happens quickly enough and it's small enough that I forget about it until later. I might be like, oh, right, he knocked that door down and he wasn't supposed to be able to do that, right? So I think this was a perfectly sized Easter egg for later, signpost for later. That I think lightning is a little it would have been a little too obvious.
She takes his sword and then he runs away. He gets mad. They're running. That's the scene from the trailer where they're running, which I thought was Winter Night, but it was this.
Same.
And then Dana, it's overall, I loved this whole thing. There's one shot of Dana like dead on, just fucking Terminator powering down the street, and
with
her
a sword.
Like, she's got a sword, and it made me laugh out loud.
It's a little silly.
It's that one scene was silly.
That one shot is a little silly. Dana as a whole is terrifying and so good. Yeah. The whole arc of Dana and a character that as she exists, even though, my one quibble with Dana, and I told Sarah this already, after she stops the boys, she catches them by cutting them off, and she's explaining to them what she's done. She's already called a Murdral and why, not because she wants power and glory, which is what I assumed, but because she wants the Dark One to end the wheel of suffering. Very interesting. But my one quibble is she had so much exposition to lay out. Half of her lines were like, the Dark One wants this, and if you do this, then the Dark One will do this, and the Murdral are coming and they do this, and like gave us a lot of exposition. I just think they gave her too much.
It was too much. They tried to use her. Yeah.
And I get it. It was just a little too much.
She was like she's our first dark friend is the thing.
And she was a good one.
She's a good dark friend. I loved her reason for being a dark friend. She's all aboard the Ashamael train, help the Dark One just end existence because existence is suffering. And if we could just end the wheel, that's the only like true moral thing we can do. And
that is so deeply nihilistic and terrifying. I love it.
Yeah. And something I journal about frequently. But yeah, it's great. And I like it was very comforting to see that a more nuanced, interesting brand of evil, one that's not
just Eamon Valda. A different flavor of evil. There are a lot of flavors in the books, and I'm glad to see different flavors in the show too.
It was also very comforting to me because, like, that is very in line with what I specifically see the Dark One as. Like, my take on the Dark One is existential nihilism to like full doomer nihilism, and based on a lot of what we've been hearing from the like Rafe and the cast about like their take on the show and the themes of balance, etc., which are obviously real themes in the books. I was just worried that what I always see as so meaningful in the books as kind of the Dark One in a way as like the full embodiment of like depression and like the desire, like
not for
like what she's
evil and
expressing is
suffering, but for
for
nothingness.
nothingness, just like,
Yeah.
oh, the sweet peace of the end. And I'm glad that made it in there, and made it in there really well. I left episode 3. I went into episode 3 panicking. I was like, oh my god, like the more I thought about episode 1 and 2, I'm like, god, this could be so bad. This could still be so bad. I left episode 3 very confident. I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah. I as an episode of television, it is a very superlative episode of television, standalone and as an installment in a series. It gives me a lot of information and gives me a lot of character development while still being a very exciting story in itself. So very successfully accomplished episode. And I am so excited to see more episodes like that.
Yeah, it's definitely the best of the 3 we've seen.
By far.
I hope it's indicative of what's to come and doesn't end up being, a standout. I'll give this one an A. Leaving
I
room
easily
for
would
S
give it
in
an
the
A.
future, but this is a solid A episode. This is a good episode of TV, and I'm like very excited for episode 4.
Very excited for episode 4. Loved this episode. Really, really happy.
Yeah. Random Matter going to go travel with Tom.
Yee!
Dana mentioned earlier that the best way out was by riverboat, so there is a small part of me holding out hope that we meet Bail Doman in the spray. I don't think it's going to happen because we haven't seen that casting announcement. But a girl can dream.
A girl
for at
can
least
always
another week.
dream. That's right. So
Yeah.
what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen in episode 4? I haven't mentioned in this episode yet that I went to the Amazon Explore page and looked at the timeline, and they mistakenly have plot points in the timeline that are from episode 4. So I know a few plot points from episode 4. So I'm going to be doing less predicting, or I won't be predicting about the subjects that I already know plot points for. But so don't go looking there if you don't want to see it. It's not super spoilery. I know some things now. What do you think is going to happen in episode 4, Sarah?
Okay, so based on the fact that episode 4 is called The Dragon Reborn, which we already knew, I think episode 4 is when we get the Dragon Sworn attacking the Aes Sedai camp. First, we see Alana heal Moraine.
Right.
But the fact that we don't see in the trailer, like we don't see Moraine in those fights with the Dragon Sworn. So I think Moraine is still recovering.
Right.
So
we see Lan and Nynaeve and Alana and her warders, but we don't see Moraine. Why would that be?
Yeah. So
we would assume, and that's the last shot of episode 3 is Logain in his cage being led by the Aes Sedai. So one would assume that that's what's episode 4. Definitely, we're gonna get Logain and his Dragon Sworn.
It'll be that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the majority of episode 4
because it's gonna be juicy.
That's gonna be big.
Ooh, I hope we get. I don't know this, but I hope we get the flashbacks to Logain in Galen with the king of Galen and all his dragon sworn being all up in their business. I hope we get that because that was really exciting from the trailers or from the sneak peek content, and I want to see it.
I assume we'll get that. I'm also curious how and when Leandrin and crew captured Logain, because like we see them chasing down that other channeler guy who's not Logain at the beginning of episode 1. That's when Moraine and Lan are like, all right, we're going to the 2 rivers. And then next time, like Moraine goes to the 2 rivers, immediately leaves the next day, meets up with Leandrin a couple days later, and she's got Logain. So I don't know if that happened before the first scene or what.
I don't think so. And because I looked at the map, they're in like that point where they pull down the cliff and stuff is near Gildan, which is just south of 2 rivers. So I think it's like generally plausible that they could have.
I see.
Could have captured him like right after. It would have to be pretty recent, but like right after they gentle that poor son of a bitch.
Could be that. But I think we'll get some of that backstory. We'll definitely get the Dragonsworn attack, which I think hopefully will be cool. It also unfortunately means we're gonna get the Stefan leap with the dumb Stefan axes, and not looking forward to that. And just a little bit of next time on Maidens of the Spear. Whenever we see those, Mary Lou and I are going to complain about them.
Sorry, and it's not even going to be the fun kind where we're like, and now I know. No, we just
hate them.
We hate these fucking axes. I take it very personally. Why did they do those axes to me?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
So we'll get that. As far as what we'll get in, well, how do I think that'll turn out? People get hurt. We get that scene of a bunch of people buried. That might happen. Eventually, we get Moiraine, Alana, and Leandrin brought up before the Amberlin, so it's possible they're the only 3 survivors, which could be interesting. Might also be just that most of those graves are warders. Rand and Matt will go with Tom down to the docks, where they will hitch a ride on a lovely little river vessel called the Spray. And no, I think they'll just like start traveling in. I don't know. Like they got to meet Min and Loyal eventually.
Yeah, when is that going to happen? I think that happens in Tarvalon.
I hope Tom does teach them how to be Gleeman, because I actually really love that for Rand.
Yeah.
Like, I love his little music. I love in Dragon Reborn when he like gets to go back and just have a little moment of just playing for his bed.
And he loves it, and he's like,
he loves it. That's like really what he wants to be as a Gleeman. So I hope we get some of that. And I think the White Cloaks, it depends on how much they want to fit into one episode. I mean, we know the White Cloaks attacked the Tuathon. So whether they do it next episode or whether next episode dedicates its runtime to the Dragonsworn attack and then ends with the White Cloak threatening or something. Yeah, I'm sure Egwene will dance with Aram, and I'm sure Perrin will feel some ways about it.
Ooh, I can't wait to see that. I don't know what happens. There's nothing on the timeline about Egwene and Perrin, so I don't know what's going to happen with them. You know what? I bet if I could make a prediction, I think you're right. I think episode 4 is going to end with that shot from above of Perrin and Egwene being circled by White Cloaks. I think that's going to be our last shot.
I could see that. It depends. Do we know what the other episodes are called? We don't need to do that. That's my prediction. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how much time they want to spend on that fight. But a lot has to happen in the Logain plotline. We have to see the Logain flashbacks. We have to learn about the taint or the corruption. We have to see Logain escape. We have to see all the Dragonsworn attack. Yeah, so they have a lot to do there.
It's a lot of ground to cover. That's true. Yeah. So it's very exciting.
Do you have any other predictions?
I had a prediction. Oh, yes. I want to say it for the record, just in case I'm right, just like you were right about Perrin and Layla. I am saying this for the record. If we do not have a flashback scene of Rand listening to Tam's feverish mutterings of the bloody snow, and that's when we get the flashback, this is what I think is going to happen. So I think we are going to find out who the Dragon Reborn is in the following manner. We are going to get flashbacks of Moiraine and Swan as accepted, taking the oaths, whatever, and then attending the Keeper of the Chronicles, Gitara Sedai, who has the foretelling about a baby being born on the slopes of Dragon Mountain. It's happening right now. I see it. And then we flash sideways to the bloody snow.
His cries are like thunder.
His cries are like thunder. I can see him. And so we flash sideways to the bloody snow, and it's happening as she's explaining it. We see the Aiel. We see these soldiers, these Illianer soldiers. It's Illian, right?
Tam is an Ileana soldier, yeah.
Okay. And the other soldiers and stuff. And we see the Aiel and we see the soldiers. And then we see a baby being, born. Oh no, this maiden accidentally had a baby, kind of. And then a captain picks it up. He takes off his helmet and it's Tam. And that's how we know that the baby that was born on the Dragon Mount, slopes of Dragon Mount, is Rand. And that's the reveal of who the Dragon Reborn is. That's my prediction. I'm saying it for the record. Sarah doesn't think I'm right. But...
No, I don't think you're wrong. I just don't think it'll happen next episode.
No. I don't think it'll happen next episode. Yeah. No, I think that's going to be 5.
Okay.
That's my prediction for 5.
I like the idea. I'm excited for episode 4, y'all.
I'm super excited. Loved episode 3. Loved it. Truly, deeply loved it.
That was great.
Quibbles, but no notes.
Much more promising. No, still some silly shots, but that's okay.
Silly shots, sure.
Nobody's nerfed. Well, this has been Maidens of the Spear.
Sure has.
Where we talk about breaking the wheel to end the endless cycle of suffering.
Sarah.
What?
Sarah, no.
Fine, this is Maidens of the Spear, where we talk about the Wheel of Time, and we have a really good time.
That's right, we have a really good time.
You can break the wheel of endless suffering.
There we go.
Is that right? Yeah. No, we hope you had a really good time.
Oh.
I'm Sarah Kaplan. You can find me on Twitter at Spear Maidens.
I'm Mary Lou. You can find me at Mary Lou Larry Moo on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch.
And you can find us on YouTube at Maidens of the Spear, and on Twitch at Maidens of the Spear, and we do live streams every Monday and also other days of the week. And we do live reviews of the Wheel of Time episodes every Thursday night now. Isn't that exciting to be able to say?
I loved it. I love that.
We do live reviews for non-readers, non-spoiler reviews with our friend Vic on Fridays at 11 a.m. PST. So if you want to check us out at any of those, please come join us. We'd love to have you. And thank you so much. We hope you have a really good rest of your week. Bye!
Bye!